Welcome to WMU.
I chose WMU because it's a foremost specialized maritime university, drawing people from different walks of life into a pool of academic learning.
The degree benefits me by equipping me with a lot of information that I wouldn't have really had access to, because here we're surrounded by quite a number of professionals and people who have relevant experience in the field and even recent experience in the field.
WMU equips the students with real-life skills which allow them usually to go straight into employment after their studies.
I would highly recommend for those individuals who are looking for more opportunities to join World Maritime University, where you will find a very friendly environment enriched with high-level professionalism.
I would say all in all, this experience was one of the best educational experiences that I have had, and it served to open significant doors.
The competencies you get here at the WMU are great ones, and the competencies are on different levels.
The academic programs at the World Maritime University are a demanding and rigorous set of curricula that is delivered by a high-level faculty.
Wanted to come to WMU for a change in education, experience, and with the short amount of time of 14 months, it's time and cost effective to be able to compress and get all that basic knowledge to understand port logistics, to then move on to working at a port terminal, and then eventually building up your career to be the executive director of a port terminal.
I was endowed with unfathomable maritime knowledge, and consequent to my studies at the World Maritime University, the Indian Coast Guard and the nation, so to say, depended and trusted me to work and contribute to some of the most significant challenges, whether it is at sea or on shore, in courts, or even in the parliament.
I have chosen WMU because it's the only one institution that joins all the different points of view of the maritime field in general. So you have all the stakeholders of the maritime here sharing information, sharing experience, and of course helping other colleagues. So I think WMU is the best starting point to improve yourself in the maritime.
WMU, it's for me the best university that you can get. I wanted to invest some money in myself and to my education. That's why I chose WMU.
I think WMU is the unique maritime research and environment.
So the World Maritime University is a leading maritime university among the world, and a qualification from here can open a million doors.
It's such an honor and a privilege to be sitting here with you today. When I first learned about WMU and the fact that not only was there a woman president, but she was Black and from the Caribbean, I was so excited and thrilled to be here. So it just makes me so happy because we're both women from the Caribbean, you from Dominica and me from the Bahamas. For those who weren't as fortunate as we were to grow up in the Caribbean, can you tell us a little bit about what that was like for you and how that shaped your background and your experience?
Well, I would say that I think I was very fortunate. I have been very fortunate in life, and ditched me a hand that I decided to take and run with it. But I would say that my father has been and was my inspiration growing up, particularly because with 11 children and my mother dying at a very early age, my father really made sure that we all were not, let's say, too affected by her passing, and that he would do his very best to make sure his children, despite their young ages, because she died quite young at 44 with 11 children, that that was not going to be a barrier to education. My father was an educator, and I think it is his role, being an educator, that made sure that all of his children would go to not just go to high school, but would all go to university. And, you know, he was an amazing man. He was a politician too, which is a good thing. But he was an amazing man, and I think my father is and continues to be today my inspiration. A very humble man, wonderful personality he was, great speaker. So I think I took a little bit from him because I followed him wherever he went. I started teaching at the convent high school, and within 2 weeks of my starting my teaching, I got this telegram in those days that said I had won a scholarship from the Canadian government. And I said I couldn't go. My father said, yes, you're going, and I'm going to take you there. And so that's how I left home and went to WWI, the Caville campus, and that's where my career started, really. I did law, I studied law, I did a master's in law at the University of the West Indies, and then I got another scholarship. I got scholarship even to do my master's degree. Got a scholarship for my first degree, a scholarship for my master's degree, and then, I don't know, one incredible day I got a scholarship from the Swiss government to do my PhD in Switzerland. And therefore, you know, my path, the life in, you know, my life changed significantly. So I was able to go to Switzerland, do my PhD, and immediately on completing my PhD, I had the good fortune that my doctoral thesis, I won a doctoral prize for that year. And in addition to that, not only did they give me this prize, and my book was published by a publisher and during my, you know, the defense of my thesis, at the end of it, I was told that I had also had a publisher ready to publish my thesis. And then I had a job from the ILO. I had 2 jobs at the same time on my thesis day, that I would be the legal assistant to the judge that was going to, who was a Swiss judge, that would be the chair of the president of the Iran-US Claims Tribunal. That's a famous time for all this hostage crises in the US. And so I immediately took that job in Holland as a legal assistant of the president. But within a few months of taking that job, I also got the offer of the ILO to join the International Labour Organization. So I say I have been ditched out such a hand. I always wish that everybody else had that same opportunity. But I would say that stick-to-itiveness, dedication, devotion. You can run around many places and do many things, but you know, I think probably it's my, you know, sort of, let us say, my own personal situation really was, and knowing that my father had so much on his hands, I felt that I had to do as much as I can to help him, and I think helping him was just seeing me take the next step, and you know, he was just an incredible man. So I would say my dad was my inspiration of my life. He was a politician, he was a teacher, he was just about everything, but he was a fabulous father who never let his children down, and all of the 11 of us, my father looked after that. So today I have a lot to give back, as I always say. I will never be able to give back enough for all I have achieved.
So let's transition to your career, which is impeccable. You've had an impressive career at the ILO, just shy of 30 years, and you're known as the mother of the Maritime Labour Convention. How did your career develop at the ILO, and what was your involvement in developing the MLC 2006?
Okay. So I joined the ILO in the legal office, in the office of the legal advisor, as one of the junior lawyers. And of course, from there, I made my way up to become the senior legal officer in the ILO. And at that stage, within a few months, I was asked to go and head a big technical department as director of the sectoral activities department, in which maritime fell. It's one of the economic sectors of activity in which the maritime fell, but I was responsible for the whole range of I would say sectors, economic sectors of activity. And after a few, probably I think I did 3.5 years at the sectoral activities department, and then the Director General asked me to go and head the International Labour Standards Department, which is so my law, all of my the sort of the broad range of expertise that I had, then I took on the responsibility as the first woman to become to hold the position of director of the International Labour Standards Department. I was the first one. So while we do have a lot of women in management in the ILO, I was the first woman heading the biggest technical department of the ILO and the one dealing with labour standards around the world. And so I had that good fortune, and I think I made the best use of it. I think I continued, of course, to work with the legal office and the technical departments on legislation, on maritime legislation, as well as other areas, because I had a broad field, all other areas in relating to the world of work. So I think I got a range of experiences and expertise, and of course a lot of engagement with governments, with employers and workers organizations with which the ILO worked, the three legs that it has. And this was also for me an amazing experience. I would never have wanted to give this up for anything else in the world, or of course until retirement came. And I went beyond my retirement age. ILO didn't end until IMO came and asked me to come, and then I just said, okay, that was a new opportunity. I'm going back into academia from where I started.
So in 2015, you became the first woman to be appointed president of the World Maritime University and the first from a developing nation. How do you feel these firsts, along with your collective experiences, have impacted or can benefit WMU?
Coming to WMU, of course, the first woman president, female president, for me, a good fortune. In everything in life is about, being there at the right time. And I think that, I had already reached my retirement age at the ILO, and when I was asked by the Secretary General of the IMO to take on the responsibility as president of the university, I felt, that was a nice, incredible opportunity for me to go back to academia, because I actually started my career as a lecturer at the University of the West Indies. So having that opportunity to come back into academia was quite extraordinary for me, and I felt it was something I could, probably a way of giving back, particularly by virtue of the nature of who WMU is. The WMU was set up by the International Maritime Organization with a view at the postgraduate level, so not at the undergraduate level, but with a view to educating and building the capacity of developing countries to better engage in maritime and ocean affairs. This was the objective of the IMO, and in doing that, the idea was to ensure that more countries around the world, not just the developed world, but the developing world, had that possibility to attend a university like WMU, where their institutions could grow through, of course, the education that WMU offers at the postgraduate level, training, and through education, of course. The whole idea is that once you graduate with expertise, so training them to engage in the range of areas that falls within the maritime field.
Wow. And it's also been a very challenging year and a half with COVID-19 and the pandemic, and we extend our condolences to everyone that's been impacted by this. But despite this, WMU has weathered the COVID-19 storm. What would you say are the strengths that made that possible?
I think that what made it possible for us to continue seamlessly, we seamlessly transitioned from face-to-face teaching to online teaching, because we already had in place a huge portfolio of distance learning programs. So not just offering an MSc in maritime affairs, face-to-face, but also we already had a well-established distance learning programs providing primarily diploma programs. And so the same portal, the same mechanism was used immediately from day to day, from one day to the next, to go online and do all our teaching online with our students at the residence, or at home, those who couldn't make it to WMU, who could follow without interruption, not one day of interruption, did we have to continue seamless teaching, seamless education, seamless capacity building.
And you're a champion of gender equality, and you're well known for your role in promoting women in the largely male-centric maritime industry. How does WMU encourage gender equality across the maritime and ocean sectors?
WMU is as a maritime institution and a maritime educational institution. We have donors that are ready to fund them and fund those who fund us, and we are ready to put in. We are actually, and since under my leadership, I have ensured that we bring in as many women as possible to pursue a degree in maritime affairs at WMU. But of course, the gap is still, probably we've now reached about 30, I would say 35%. Is the highest we've reached so far. I'd like to see us grow beyond that 35%. And not just grow, but maintain that growth. I think women have to be bold. But being bold is not enough. You have to have expertise. And is a channeling of that expertise, is the mentoring that we women today, we should be the mentors for those who must follow us. We should be mentoring them, encouraging them, helping them to see bigger, helping them to have foresight, and helping them to take forward. We will reach up to a point. I've reached probably my, the limit of where I can go. But what I can do with where I have been is to say to young people like you, like yourself, like all three women around me today, there are opportunities. We should never fear. We should be ready to take the mantle forward. You're an athlete yourself. Take that baton and run with it. Be surrounded by both men and women. We need both sides. And we need the opportunities. When you have an opportunity, think a little bit more deeply about that opportunity. Don't just say, oh my God, I can't do this. No, there's nothing like I can. My father told me one thing. I never want to hear you say that word. I cannot. Yes, I can. And yes, I will.
That's really incredible. And Goal 5 in particular on gender equality, I see that reflected through WMU, especially as within my PhD cohort, all of us are women, and Black women from the Caribbean at that, and that's so aligned with the UN SDG 2030 goals that we follow here at WMU, especially Goal 14, which is life below water, and that's supported by WMU's Global Oceans Institute. And you mentioned the connection between sustainability and the maritime industry. What factors do you think are key in advancing a sustainable maritime industry, especially in light of COVID-19 and climate change?
Well, two things I would say. One, we have the challenge of COVID-19, and I'll come back to that. And the other one is decarbonization. Decarbonization is the big issue of our time in terms of climate change issues. And we have to put in more and more effort to ensure that we address the decarbonization issue, not just in words, because we have a lot of this bending around today. Everybody wants to be doing something, okay? Glasgow is an example. But we need to see action on the ground. So I think one of the first things I did with respect to energy management was to establish a specialization in maritime energy management. You can get more concrete and more direct, very specific area and issue. The good news was that we had faculty on staff who were experts in the field. Professor Ulsher is the example that I can give in this particular case. And we have been growing that specialization, maritime energy management, critical, it is the latest of the specializations that we have adopted, that we have put in place. And it is because it was so critical, in my view, to ensure that the decarbonization issue was not another paper exercise, but that by educating and building capacity of those who come to WMU, encouraging countries to send staff that will be able to address this issue of decarbonization, because it's a global problem. It's not a problem of one country. It's a global issue and has to be addressed globally.
You've been mentored by so many wonderful people, and you have also imparted knowledge on so many. But if you could look back to yourself when you were 18 years old and other youth who may be the same age now, what advice would you give them for reaching their dreams?
I think that we all need mentors, and but you have to get the right mentors. Mentors that will be ready to follow you along your path and help you to reach your ambition. The question is also about ambition. What's our ambition? We should all be very ambitious. How far can we take it? Let's, not be ambitious and selfish, but ambitious and giving. So that we look back and today I can say to myself, I will never be able to give enough. I received so much. What can I give back in return? So I love having young people around me to inspire them and to say, yes, we can. Yes, we can. And yes, we will.
Madam President, it's been such an honor and a joy to sit here and speak with you today. I'm so inspired and so motivated to take action. You are truly a SheEO. In fact, you're a SheEO, my SheEO. Seeing you, where you come from, your experiences, and the fact that you're making a way for people not only that look like you, but from the same sector, in the maritime field especially. I can't wait to see how these seeds that you've been planted sprout, and we begin to see more women in this sector, more people from the developing world dominating the maritime field, and also addressing and taking action against climate change and other ocean issues and environmental issues facing our world today. Again, I'm just so grateful. Thank you.
My side to thank you. You have had a passion yourself that has taken you to WMU, and you have come to WMU. That will enable you to take your mission even further. What you have started, you've already done a tremendous lot. When I think of all you've done already with respect to plastics in the ocean, this is just one big example. It is such a big one. But what you've done, mobilizing, and I have seen many of your videos, mobilizing these young people to help clean the oceans. And they will be inspiring their parents. So this is, you've already done so much, and we're very, very proud of you. And if we could only continue to spread the outcomes that you've already achieved, and how you've done it, because it's also about a how. How have you empowered these young people? The fact that you're not anymore there, you're here in Malmö, in Sweden, and not in the Bahamas, and they're still, I am sure, still making sure they don't allow people to just throw plastics into the sea. You've already been such an inspiring young woman, and I am very, very proud of you that you're going to inspire many more of us at WMU and around the world to take your lead and follow.